Welcome to Forest Alchemy, where love, land, and community converge in a dance of wild creativity.
We're Mike and Allie, forest dwellers and soul partners, sharing stories and projects from our permaculture community homestead. Come gather by the fire, and let's explore the magic of connection, creation, and the living land. All right, welcome to another episode of Forest Alchemy. Today we're joined by someone whose work feels deeply aligned with what we talk about here at Soulfire Forest, and that's the healing power of reconnecting with nature. Julie Brams is an earth-centered psychotherapist, forest therapy guide, and author of The Nature Embedded Mind. For over 30 years, she's been integrating traditional psychotherapy with eco-psychology, meditation, and neuroscience. Her work explores how remembering our place within the living earth can transform mental health, culture, and the way we relate to ourselves. We're so honored to have you here.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I'm happy to be speaking with you.
Yeah, we loved your book.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Yeah, it was really good.
Thank you.
Yeah, and like it's so nice to see that there are people doing this, like trying to reconnect people with nature, because it's currently like people are disconnected from nature. They think of nature as this thing that's like separate from them, and it's like, no, we're all nature. We're made from the earth, just like everything else around us, and there's such a big disconnect from that from these days. It's really good to see your work and like helping people reconnect to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you. I think so too. And again, as a mental health professional, I think it's even more crucial and critical that the field itself takes this as a serious mental health issue.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big reason and a big part of why I wrote it. And, you know, it's definitely for everyone, but a special kind of calling in to psychologists and therapists to take it as a serious correction in the foundation of what we see as mental health.
Yeah, and I'm seeing a lot more like therapists working with nature. That seems to be coming up a lot for me lately. I don't know, you know how sometimes when you read a book or something, then you notice that thing over and over, but ever since reading the book, I've had a couple of friends that are like, oh yeah, I do like nature therapy with my therapist. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's beautiful that it seems to be becoming a more popular thing.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say we've got a handful of like therapist friends that we're happy to like share this information with too, so that they can like think about taking that into their practice.
Yeah, and another thing why I wrote this is as an entry point for therapists that aren't familiar with working in partnership with nature. And I do want to make a distinction between using nature as a tool from this work that I'm promoting, which is about rebuilding relationship. So helping humans, as you said, recognize their kinship. It's relationship building. It's not just nature does all these wonderful things for you, which it does, and therefore go take more, but come back into right relationship in more of an indigenous way. And again, kind of recognizing that whatever our skin tone is, at a point in time, we were all indigenous.
Yes, yeah.
So being torn out of the earth has been a harmful trauma for all of us.
Yes.
Yeah, and so this is about really finding, I found this particular method that speaks deeply to the relationship aspect. And then again, as you said, maybe even taking that final leap into understanding, I am the earth. I am the planet. So it's really getting at these, again, just mental constructs that are completely fabricated and false, that divide us from nature, the rest of nature, that divide us from each other. Like, all of it is fabricated. Yep. So that's, again, why I see it as a mental health concern.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, and it's strange to me that people can exist like with nature around them and never notice it. Like for me, I'm a noticer. I'm always like when I go, like I just think of walking in the woods, and I can visualize like all the spaces that I walk, and like connecting with the different plants, and like knowing what plant friends are growing there and what the trees are, and like watching them through the different seasons. Like that's, yeah, it's just wild to me that there are people who walk past all these things and don't even notice them, but they can identify like all the logos of the cars and
right.
all the corporations around them.
Right.
Yeah, I had an interesting conversation with my daughters who are 4 and 7, and we teach workshops, and I was like, would you ever be interested in teaching a workshop for kids, of like teaching about your plant friends? And they were like, well, but grown-ups already know all of that. And I was like, no, actually, a lot of grown-ups and other kids don't know these plant friends. And they were like, what? They were like shocked that like people don't have this connection with nature and don't know this stuff. So that was, and like speaking on the disconnect of like, I used to go hiking when I lived in Colorado, and I knew that it was something that was beneficial for me to go out, and it was like, go out and go for a walk, but it was more of like, the point of my hiking was going from point A to point B. And one thing that really opened it up for me was having kids and walking through nature with them at their pace.
It's a lot slower.
Uh-huh. And watching them like go up to every plant and like look at every little detail. It's beautiful.
Exactly. Yeah, I think I mentioned at one part in the book that if you do have a younger child or access to young children, let them be your guide, because they haven't forgotten yet. Especially the younger they are and the less they've been trained away from it. It's just intrinsically there. And I love to hear how your kids are not going to lose that connection. Yeah.
Yeah, she's talking to the littles, which are 4 and 7, but then the 13 and 14-year-old, like if we go into a new woods there and there's like a fallen down tree, you can guarantee they're going to be seeing how far on that can they climb out on that fallen tree before it gets too unstable or too skinny.
Right.
And noticing what mushrooms there are. They love mushrooms. Yeah.
So could you tell us a little bit about like how you got into this? Like what brought you, like were you always a nature person, or did you get brought back into it?
I think I was always a nature person in the ways that many people think of themselves as a nature person. So I had a love of nature and a love of the earth. I had a love of indigeneity. That was something growing up that made sense to me. As I entered the field of psychology, I think it was a combination of that love of earth, desire for truth, and a fascination with human consciousness or human potential. So those things guided me along my particular path. And of course, like I came into meditation, mindfulness in particular. And it just seemed like a very natural connection at some point to ask myself, what can I do with my skill set to actually serve Earth? I mentioned in the book a couple of very inspirational books that I read, Tom Hartman, Joanna Macy. Like there are a lot of people that have helped me along the way. But it really was, like you're saying, this kind of intrinsic, at a point in time, I've been a clinician for over 30 years. So part of staying alive in my work has been a process of recreating, why am I doing this again and again? And there was a point where it dawned on me in a way about the earth, and I felt chills and started crying, and I was like, okay, this is it. I just need to figure out how I'm going to do that. How do I take a Western culture and use it to help people kind of effortlessly reconnect and then want and live and behave in a sustainable way. Like you're saying, turn that curiosity from the logos to your kin.
Yeah.
And whether it's in the woods, like people get a little caught up on this idea of forest. Like, I don't have a forest. It's like, yeah, I know. I don't have a forest. I live in Los Angeles, But it's sort of like a placeholder for any other than human species. So whatever's out your window or whatever's, if you're driving, what do you see around you? As you're listening to this, like who's around you already. We're never not in nature because our body is nature. So we're always in nature. We're always connected to the elements. We can absolutely understand we're inhaling air and exhaling, other. Yeah. So we're always embedded in nature biologically, physiologically. And I just wanted to help flip our mind into that reality and out of this kind of cultural delusion that we force. It's like your kids. It's like, wait, what? That's, I think, what should be the response. Like, what? So I think I answered. I'm not sure if I answered the question, but
yeah, you did.
Okay, good.
Sure.
We always talk about how we like to learn about herbalism and herbs and how they can support us in our body. And we always talk about how when you learn to forage and you learn these different plants and their names and, it's like you're creating a relationship with them. And then when you go somewhere totally different that you've never been to before, you can still recognize these plants. And so we talk about how it's like no matter where we are, we don't feel like we have no friends at the party. It's like, when you walk into a room and there's you don't recognize anybody and it's like, but we feel like in nature, everywhere we go, we have these friends. We're like, oh, I know you. Oh, I know who you are. And it's comforting to have those relationships.
Totally. And I think also one of the invitations that I like to, offer to people is, and considering that they recognize you, so you're, the ones that you see every day, they know you too. They're seeing you, they're aware of you. I'm sure you and probably your listeners know how plants recognize when we're coming. They can feel us a long way away. So these vibratory ways that we're connected, they're definitely aware of us. They love us. I've come to understand over the 8 years of living in this way and continuing to learn how much they like to play, how much they, how they get your attention through your senses. When I go to places that are unfamiliar, I introduce myself again and I tell them which trees I'm around, or because I'm by the Pacific Ocean, I let other water bodies of water know here's where I'm coming from, here's who I hang out with. And we were talking about Lake Michigan, growing up on that lake, and I do believe she was one of my mothers. I'll talk to the other water about Lake Michigan, what raised me, and just sort of introducing myself, like you're saying, at a party, kind of letting them know who I know that they might know.
Yeah totally.
So I really liked how you talked about when doing the forest bathing, how when you're done, so you identify plants during the walk and you collect some of the plants from where you're walking, and then at the end you do a tea. like a tea ritual with it, and I really like that because then that's really helping people see like, oh, these are more than just like just things that are here that we don't have anything to do with.
Right. So that it's not like just a backdrop for human activity, but that there are, again, and to do it in a way that is loving, I mean, I think a lot of people understand, to ask is that, can I take some of your leaves for tea? And, there are certain plants that say no. And so I don't, and just keep waiting for the yes. And so this tea ceremony, it is part of the particular brand of forest therapy that I'm certified in, which is through the Association of Nature and Forest Therapy that was developed by a man named Amos Clifford. And I talk about it a lot in the book. In my mind, like the brilliance of what he synthesized in his, his journey of being a therapist, being a wilderness guide, Zen Buddhism, and just what the land told him about how to make this very accessible doorway in that really allows people to have a kind of experience that you might find in a much longer vision quest kind of experience. And so in that method, it's a standardized sequence of invitations, which of course each time you do it, it's always a different invitation because it's a different day, a different area, you're different, but it's a standardized sequence, which appealed to me as a scientist. And the tea ceremony is that closure. That's where I learned that through them. And as you said, it's a way, again, of taking nature in, and we always offer something back. So we're offering things along the way, even if it's just simple attention or a thank you or whatever's in your heart, or you're giving some of your hair, which is, very mineral rich, or we always offer the first cup of tea to the land and we bless it. So we go around the circle and put in any wishes that we want for the land, and then we give that first to the land and then we take it in. So
yeah, I don't know if you know what biochar is.
I was gonna say the same
You were
thing.
going to say the same thing.
No, tell me.
Well, you can explain what it is.
So biochar is a charcoal that's made from like waste residue, like wood chips or tree branches that have fallen. You turn it into charcoal and grind it up really small, and then you charge it with like nutrients and microbes, and it's really helpful for the soil, and it'll stay there for hundreds, if not thousands of years. So that's something we produce here to improve our garden soil. So like because we have an abundance of it, when we like to offer it, to the woods here and like to the just all the areas, and that's kind of our offering.
And if we ever harvest anything, we always I love teaching the kids about that reciprocal relationship. It's an energy exchange. So if we're asking permission, and then we're giving energy or biochar or something, nutrients back.
Yeah,
so
that's lovely.
And I like how you said that the land told him that, because like when you listen to like indigenous teachings and they're like, how did you know you could eat these plants or mushrooms? And they're like, well, the plants told us.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that's really cool as one starts to trust that innate ability to relate directly, which again is what I mean, that we can reclaim these hidden or lost or whatever abilities, that you do absolutely get a sense from the environment. What's a yes, what's a no, what's safe, what isn't. There are things that we've taught each other, like, for example, rattlesnakes. I have, that's an awareness out here a lot. We know, don't touch the rattlesnake. But, I was just hiking through Griffith Park, and there was a plant that caught my eye. I wasn't familiar with it, but there was something about it that I just felt like, I need to be not afraid, but just be cautious, There's something that just felt like, get close but not too close, like be and I was in a process of looking for an other than human being to sing to as some, yeah, and this is the one. And so as I approached it, I just again got this idea about what was okay to touch, what wasn't, different things, and then of course I took a picture and I Google searched later, and yeah, absolutely, it was poisonous. If you touch it or eat it or get it in your eyes. It wasn't like a familiar one to me, like poison oak. I know that one. But
what was it?
It was castor bean oil.
Oh, yeah. That can kill a horse, a castor bean.
One bean.
Yeah. So it was interesting that it definitely was talking to me. And again, not, it's sort of like, I think of it even as the kindness of the plant to say, hey, I know I'm harmful for you, so don't get close to this. Like, it didn't feel like, I'm going to get you. It was like just thoughtful of the plant to say, don't touch this part.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and an interesting thing with like poisonous plants is like often depending on how they're ingested or used, like castor, for example, like castor oil made from the bean is amazing for medicinally, like putting it on your skin. It actually like opens up your pores, right, so that you can receive the medicine.
Yeah, it actually helps bring, like, if you have like essential like oils with it, it helps like bring it in, so you can like use like liver packs or like
or like pokeberry. Most people know pokeberry around here, and like the berries themselves are very poisonous if you eat them, but the leaves, if you take them and boil them a certain way and rinse them when they're young, and like it's medicinal.
And even I know people who will even like eat like one berry, and there are things that helps with, even though if you eat a bunch of them you'll get really sick.
Yeah,
but somebody had to figure this out, and
right, and I think that is
probably told by the plant.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the thing that I feel like I have personal evidence of, not just theoretical, but what we can, again, learn to how to listen to the earth. I started calling myself an earth listener. I don't know.
Yeah.
But how to listen. And don't be like arrogant about it. But yes, of course, people have this knowledge and wisdom, and we can ask and we can receive that information. We don't have to do trial and error. But to really begin to feel oneself again as, just by birthright, part of this place that can receive that information, just this trust building. Do you know what I mean? It's like, other than always deferring to, what does another human say? What can you tell me? It's like that breaks your relationship with the other than human that you're getting to know. If you just only ask another human, then we're just staying in that human circle, or that trap. Like, I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. And that we are the only experts, or not like, but the experts that have the letters behind their name are the only people that can tell you reliably what something is. Yeah.
Right.
I've had experiences where like I would see certain bugs, like just regular, like one year I just like no matter where I went, I would like find an ant like crawling up my leg. And that was the first one I ever looked up. I'm like, well, what does that mean? So I kind of looked up like the spiritual meaning of that, and it was like talking about the need for community. And like, there's so many times that happens, and I sometimes forget. It takes me a little while, so it keeps reminding me. And eventually, I'm like, oh, I should look this up, and I do, and it's usually something very relevant to what's going on in my life right now, or something that I really need to hear.
Yeah, those messengers.
Yeah, and I like. and first taking a moment to interpret, like, okay, well, what does this animal like look like or do, and like trying to interpret it yourself, and it's usually right on, of like, just again forming that relationship with the being. Yeah.
Exactly. To learn to trust that you can listen, to go
Mm-hmm.
out, out of doors and just listen before you start
Mm-hmm.
talking to whatever other being, as long as you need, many
Mm-hmm.
times, to keep asking, what are you? What do you need? How can I help you? How do you, just be, again, that curiosity and openness to listen to how they express themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
again can be in many different ways. It's not going to be in our verbal language.
Yeah. Yeah, and even like with herbalism, the more I learn about plants and what they can be useful for, a lot of times they look like what they're used for. Like for example, like the first one I noticed was that plants that are helpful for women for menstruation often have like red flowers
Mm.
or red berries, like something that looks like blood,
Mm.
it like, or I don't remember which plant it is, but it was helpful for a certain organ, and the leaves are the exact shape of that organ. What
Mm.
was that? Do you know what I'm talking
Oh,
about? But there's so many examples of that,
and like
of like
walnuts,
they're
they're
trying
good
to
for your
show you.
like
Right.
walnuts are good for your brain, and they look like a
Oh, they look
brain.
like a brain.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, again, like, as we've lived for whatever, like 150 generations now from this anthropocentric crazy thought experiment that happened back back in the way back, we're surprised, like, oh wow, it looks like an organ. But then if we flip it again and remember we co-evolved,
Yeah.
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 of course it looks like that. We grew
Yeah.
up together. We,
Uh-huh.
of course, the hand looks like a leaf, or
Mm.
it's like we belong here, and it's just this mental thing that makes it also like, what, again.
Mm-hmm.
And when I feel like, again, like, I'm calling it rerouting our mind back into alignment with the truth or reality. um yeah, it's a deep homecoming. It's a
Mm-hmm.
deep homecoming.
Yeah. Another thing I just thought of is the placenta, and how there's the
Mm.
tree of life on the back of a placenta. And for those of you that don't know, on the on the back where the veins are, it's like a trunk and branches that come out, and it's just absolutely beautiful. And
Mm.
it's the tree of life right there, supplying life for our babies in the womb.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And just veins in general, they look like tree branches. There's so many different ways that we connect. But
Yeah.
one thing that's been coming up a lot in our lives lately is how cool it is that, for thousands and thousands of years, humans intuitively knew these things about plants, and the plants told them. And, we had all this knowledge. And as we've grown, we've taken further steps back and back and back and back. But one really cool thing about living right now is that science is now proving
Mm-hmm.
what we already knew. And so that feels really amazing, that like when I was a kid, I heard this kind of stuff and I was like, "Oh, that sounds really beautiful and amazing." But I didn't like embody it as truth, because do you know what I mean? And now
Yeah.
these science experiments come out, and it's almost just like this validation that I think that we needed. Like we all knew this, and we've learned to only trust science and authority figures, and now science is like, well,
Yeah.
it might be true.
Yeah, it is pretty interesting to me as well. And, hopeful that
Mm-hmm.
even though we did split, we took that hard edge. And again, it was, you know, brutal, tearing us out of the earth, with punishment of death if you didn't separate from that earth-centered wisdom, right? And even though we took that turn, of course, it's going to come back to reality. So the science mind or the logic or the whatever that journey was all about, trying to say, no, we're superior to, we're separate from, we're this remarkable being that is completely different from the rest of nature and should dominate it or whatever, Of course, it comes back around to reality, which is, no, you're not. You're part of an intricate system, that is co-creating itself. So yes, science does now give us plenty of reason to step outside of that delusion, because, I think I've said in the book and many times, we still use, in this time frame, we use shame and humiliation and ostracization. How do you say that? Ostracization. Ostracization.
It's one of those ones I've read a million times, but try and say it out loud. It's like,
anyway, we do shame each other still. So it does help for us to have science, which is our favorite religion, to say, guess what?
Right.
You belong here and you are part of this system.
Well, the hard parts of being a more nature-connected human these days is just all the sadness, watching the destruction of the nature, like everywhere you go. Like 2 years ago, there were mulberry trees in our township that we like to go and harvest mulberries from, and then in two different locations, and the city or the township decided to cut down the mulberry trees at a park, and then there's another one like right in the town where they cut them down to build an apartment building.
Yeah, and when you have relationships with these plants, they're not just like, this tree that I walk by. It's like, I have memories of my kids picking the berries and being stained with purple juice as we're going into the store, and and having that relationship. It's just like when I saw them gone out of the blue, it's like, oh, ow.
Yeah, we had to move a year and a half ago, and the thing I missed the most about that place was the plants that we had there, like the trees that were there, the grapevines, the berry patches.
Yeah.
That just, most of those just, the berry patches all just kind of showed up, and I just would mow around them, and they'd get bigger and bigger. So just like oftentimes you can just like let nature be, and it'll provide for you.
Yeah. I mean, I think that grief is a definite part of having a relationship, right? Like that's the risk of loving, is that when you lose it, you feel it. I think the thing that I want to also illuminate, for people, is that even if you stay in denial of that in your mind, like you don't let yourself know that you have a relationship, because our body is earth, you're going to feel it anyway. So your body will feel depressed, anxious, you'll be crying, you won't know why. I see this in my practice with people. The more digitized we get, or separated psychologically, the more the body goes bananas, So we have more people who are suffering from panic disorder, major depression, suicidality. You can see people are enraged, people are trying to numb out. Like, this is because your body, in my opinion, but I think this is true if you all kind of follow me on this journey, your body can't not feel what's happening because it is Earth. So if Earth is suffering, you are suffering. You can try to keep yourself entertained out of reality, but your body is going to shake. Your body's going to feel anxious, out of sorts, dysregulated, and that's, again, the benefit of realigning your mind with your body and reality, it calms down. Because as sad or as bad as things are, if we're in alignment, our nervous system down regulates, because it makes sense. It's like you're not using energy to try to pretend you're not feeling something. You know?
So it's kind of expanding on Eckhart Tolle's definition of the collective pain body, because he's referring to humans, but yeah, I feel like the nature around us also ties into that.
Yeah, I do. I think that the nature around us is the foundation to it, and I love Eckhart Tolle, and I feel we all need to be including the rest of nature fundamentally, foundationally. If we stay human centered, we're missing the point. So that's again where I sort of relanguaged eco-psychology, which when I'd say it to people, they're like, oh, recycling. And I'm like, nah, no. I relanguaged it to earth-centered. So it's centering earth, not humans. So we've been centering humans, again, for 1,000 or so years. More than that. My math is bad. Whatever it is. Since 500 BCE, and we see how much damage that causes to the human species, for sure, and the rest of us. So so that, again, like you're saying, that pain body is the pain that our earth feels, and also, my gosh, the resiliency that she has, the joy that she has. Like people say this a lot, like, oh, if the human race is gone, the earth will be fine. That's true. The earth, what do they say? Like, pollinators are the most important species, not humans. Or we need the plants. If the plants are gone, we're gone. If we're gone, the plants are okay. So there's this reality again of who's who in the big picture. But where was I going with that? Shoot, I lost my train of thought.
No worries.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of making me think too. I think I think that the younger generations, like especially like teenagers right now, are having some of the worst cases of depression and suicide rates that we know of in human history. We've never had so many kids having such struggles.
Right.
And I think that they're all feeling this grief, they're feeling this pain
and disconnect.
And then on top of it, there's so much focus on which I think it's important to talk about climate change. I think it's important to talk about how humans, have impacted the world. And I think that we need to be careful to, like, with the language of, like, it's hopeless. There's nothing we can do about it. Humans cause it. There's too many of us now, and we're all just going to die. And the earth will continue living. Like, I think that is very toxic as well.
Agreed.
And I think we need to focus, like, how can we take this grief that we're feeling, this rage that we're feeling, and turn it into something beautiful? Like, how can, so, like, not just focusing on the negative and doom and gloom and everything's horrible and everything's bad and humans are horrible, because that's something I hear a lot too from kids, is that, like, humans are so evil to the earth. And it's like, well, I'm human. And I'm not evil. I'm, like,
right.
we can turn this thing around. And even if humans don't survive it, we need to focus on, like, how can we help the earth to create more resiliency? How can we plant more trees? How can we treat the world better? Maybe there is, and remember that there is hope.
All right, and that is where I was going with it. Now you just reminded me.
I caught you.
Yeah,
you
caught me. You totally did. Yeah, because yes. So when we recognize that we're nature, we're earth, the resiliency is us. there isn't a separation of humans are bad and nature is great. Humans are nature, and so we can infuse ourselves back into. It's the separation that's toxic, not humans. The earth gave birth to us for a reason. She wants us here. We do belong here. And when we're connected, when we're rerouted, or we're back, when we see ourselves as that resilient, beautiful, capable, strong entity that we are, then hope springs up. It just does. I was thinking about, I had this image come to me of, we've all kind of seen these structures like buildings, collapsed buildings or abandoned buildings, and nature reclaiming it, right? You can look at this,
like
right?
In Detroit.
Right? And how quickly nature comes and starts to reclaim. And we're nature. We tend to identify with the building. We're not the building. We're not the structure. And you can take that literally or socially. We're not the structure. We're nature. We quickly reclaim and revitalize. I'm just going to leave it at that. We can quickly reclaim and revitalize as earth, as nature. It's not a lot of time at all. And this is, again, another kind of mental leap, because we're trained to think we have to do it in this machine-like fashion, that we've run up to a dead end, kind of, and then we're like, what do we do? Well, yeah, if you think of yourself as a structure or a machine or a whatever outside of the rest of nature, you're going to get stuck. But when you remember, I am the mycelium, I am the microbial world, I am the ivy that climbs up, boom, we're home. It's very hopeful. But we have to listen. Go ahead.
Well, part of our mission here is like keeping kids connected to nature so that they don't have to come back to this reconnection later. Like if they can see the importance of the nature around them now, because they've already got that curiosity and that wonder and that wanting to know about it. So if we can keep that for as many kids as possible, then we don't have to do as much work trying to reconnect people.
Exactly. I agree. Yeah,
because when we get stuck in that, I see so many, like, again, that like the teens that are now like teenager age. I see so many kids that are like, again, so disconnected and fearful, and they're like, well, the earth is already like on its way out, so there's not as much care of like what I put in my body, what am I drinking out of? Is this plastic? And there's not as much care, because it's just like, well, we're all gonna die anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the more we like, one person, if we can just help one person to see this reconnection, that we are Earth, then that one person will spread it to this many people. And, it's like, it's infinite. It's amazing how quickly knowledge can travel and how quickly we can change
exactly
the way that we think about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
How quickly we can change. And I want to say again that it's that this reconnection isn't just intellectual again, right? It's not just an intellectual idea, because that's I like to joke that it's not a joke, but I understand really well how like a treadmill works, but unless I get on it, I'm not going to get any benefit from it, So these practices are not just intellectual ideas; they're practices, and which again is where I've really, promote the type of forest therapy that I was trained in, because it's so user friendly. It's so easy to learn what the practice is, how to really embody the idea. And again, as I said, if all therapists who are trained at repairing relationship can make this leap, like, come on, guys, let's do this. We have so many clinicians who already love helping, know how to help, know how to support healthy relationships, whether that's a couple, a family, a community, and if we just expand it to this, is how fast this would spread, how easy we can all come back. Again, yeah, I really see it. And again, I think that part of this is because I am an earth listener and I'm listening to her, and I've said, yes, I will do this for you. And she's like, let's go. There is no hopelessness or fear about it. And there's oddly, there isn't a length of time. Even time is a man-made concept, like this idea of how quickly we can transform something is I'm going to say more reality than a clock and a calendar and what will happen in 2036. Like, what? Like, why are we doing that?
It's point, like, we have this many years left of
the doomsday clock or whatever. It's like, please stop looking at the clock. It's here we are.
Let's focus on what can we do now. We talk a lot about how the systems that of our culture are toxic, and so many people get stuck in that, especially with social media, just this doom scrolling of like, everything's bad, everything's horrible, what are we going to do about it, it's so bad. And so, like, a big practice of what we do and in our lives and with our kids is like not focusing as much on that. Like, turn off the news and start focusing more on what can I do today? What is one thing that I can do today that will help? That's it. Easy. What's an easy first thing? And not like, people are like, oh, I'm not going to give up my whole lifestyle and live off grid in a cabin in the woods. And it's like, you don't have to.
Right.
Just pick one thing, one to do today.
Right.
It's what's the easiest thing that you can do? You don't have to go all or nothing. You know?
Yeah, for sure. And I think also because of my lane being in this Western psychology thing, I'm thinking a lot about dismantling hierarchies in the mind, decolonizing your mind, and like really getting into the weeds of what you're thinking. Because again, and this is a hard one if you haven't done a lot of meditation practice, but to really understand, and I'm saying it as a mental health professional, our thoughts are not real. That's not what we are. It's an operating system. You get to go in and tinker, and you should, change the thoughts that are maladaptive, change the thoughts that are antisocial, So a big one, I think, is this deconstructing the hierarchy. That's this problem of supremacy, right? Like whether it's human supremacy over the rest of nature, or it's white supremacy over darker skin tones, or it's male supremacy over whatever. This idea of supremacy and inferiority, this linking, ranking, not linking, it is a foundational problem in our mind that we can dismantle now. And it takes practice because we are so used to ranking ourselves.
Yep.
And I mentioned this linked, not ranked, Gloria Steinem. Imagine we're linked, not ranked. And as soon as you do that and you practice linking, again, linking with other humans, but linking with all of nature, how powerful. Like, think about how many allies we have.
Yes.
If we're really linked in this planetary family, and again, it's not ranking yourself. I was at Deer Park Monastery with Thich Nhat Hanh talking
Oh, wow.
once upon a time, yeah, and he mentioned, he mentioned, breaking this trance of, there is no superiority, there is no inferiority, and there is no equality. And it was like, because all of those are concepts that stem from this false idea, so even equality is in the realm of ranking. You can't have equality if you're not ranking.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so like these are where these like little hidden barriers that, like in the book I'm calling them this perceptual cage that we're in. Get rid of them. Get rid of this. Just keep relanguaging and recreating the paradigm. And again, like you said, it becomes easier and easier to do one right thing, one healing thing, one beneficial thing. It becomes easier and easier because you're, at least from my experience, you feel free. You just feel free. Free to love, free to connect. Yeah. So I know I'm going on a rant, but
that's great.
That's what we're here for. This is rant space.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that we rank in very subtle ways too, and it's easy for us to to think like, oh well, I'm not racist, I'm not sexist, I'm definitely not elitist, but I think that we rank ourselves in very subtle ways of like, what is successful? Like that's a way of ranking, like are we meeting our parents' definitions of success? Are we productive for enough hours in the day? That's ranking. You're comparing yourself to somebody else and deciding what's, good and what's bad.
Exactly.
And, yeah.
So, I think one of my favorite parts of the book was when you talked about your, I don't remember if it was a week-long or 2-week-long experience when you were doing the training and you were on your camping trip. And I really liked the way you, like how you talked about that and like all your experiences there. So I didn't know if you wanted to have a little space to talk about that too.
Yeah, that was, it's the training through ANFT it's rigorous, and back when I was doing it, I was cohort 16 and they've gone on beyond numbers and into plants and animal names. They've certified thousands of guides globally. So you can always find, and I recommend an ANFT certified guide. They're everywhere. But yeah, the training began with, it was 8 days in the woods camping, which, if you read the book, you see that I didn't really even know how to set up the tents on my own. I had only ever gone camping at that time, with my husband, and I would, help him, but I was like, I don't know. So I was coming from this very like fish out of water place, and through the training and their guidance of, again, letting me build my own relationships with the other than humans in that location, learned what it is to be a guide rather than a therapist, rather than, like tending to center ourselves as the authority, to really lean into the rest of nature is the therapist. I am only there to help people make that connection, or as they say, open the door. Yeah, so the trip was amazing. And then there's a 6-month mentorship program afterward where you get to know your own trails locally and the plants and which ones are more than 100% safe to give to people. Yeah, and it also included like a half-day solo walk on the land.
Yeah.
Which, again, and they give you the invitation to be invisible or to experience yourself as invisible. And what that liberated was amazing to just imagine. I recommend it to anyone, if you have the courage, or the enough curiosity to just walk out and imagine that you're invisible to other humans. And it really allows you, again, to drop any shame, embarrassment, blah, 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 that we impose, and be with the land. Honestly, I think, I wrote in the book, at one point I was just crying to the trees saying, you don't know what it's like to live in a cemented city. Like, I can't even tell you how hard it is to be, in this lifestyle, and I made my commitment to them then. I was like, I will do whatever you want me to do, with the not the condition, but with the request that you let me know when I can leave the city, because it's fucking painful,
Yeah.
So, and that was 8 years ago, and I've learned a lot. And, it's like, it's a very different experience for me now to be in the city. But just that idea of being only visible to the rest of nature allows so much freedom to give and receive information. Yeah. That's a little bit about that.
It's beautiful.
So do you, so a couple questions. One, do you have to be a therapist to do the ANFT training?
No.
And, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And the second question is, for guiding people, is that always just one-on-one, or do you also like take groups out as well?
Yeah. So you don't have to be a therapist. In fact, most guides are not therapists. It's a tricky road, because therapists tend to think of themselves as the medicine, so it's almost harder for us, which is, again, why I wrote the book, to say, like, dudes, come on now, like, really set your ego aside, set your letters aside, and learn how to witness and hold and not be the egocentric. Yeah. So no, most forest therapy guides are not therapists. Anyone can train, and I recommend it for everyone. It's an amazing training. The model is set up as a group experience, and it's, again, important, I think, that it is done communally, because it also is reparative in the way that the people on the walk relate to each other, again, without this ranking system that people share. We kind of think of it as if we're in a circle, that you're sharing from your heart, like what your experience is, to the center of the circle, not to each other, or not talking to each other, or making sure, do you agree, or did I say it right, or not even dealing with that, just adding it into the, let's say, the medicine in the center of the circle. And so we're listening to what everyone's contributing, including the other than humans. So lots of times other, like snakes will come through the circle, or another kind of an animal might pop up. Birds oftentimes come around and circle because they're interested, or a leaf will drop down, or the wind picks up, or the rain. Like all kinds of things that you would go, that's impossible. It's like, no, it really isn't. It's like they are very aware, and they really are contributing to the conversation.
And
And
everybody witnesses it. So it's
everybody,
not just you seeing this thing. It's like, did you see that too?
exactly, everybody witnesses it. And then again, it allows more permission to drop these, um, I am keep calling it like a delusion, these false
Yeah.
thoughts that this isn't
Yeah.
possible, this isn't real, that's crazy, that's
Mhm.
woo woo, you're a whatever, no.
Mhm.
And as people share, other people do have more encouragement to go, like you're saying, like maybe someone did see the same thing you did, or you see something else and they're like, oh, so it's more and more encouragement to self validate, this is real. This is
Mhm.
really happening. I'll go back a second to one of the invitations in my training. There was a circle of trees, and they had all of us, and I think there was like 20, 25 of us maybe on this training. And they had us silently go to each tree, introduce ourselves, listen to the tree, get a sense of the tree. And then we would move to the next tree, same process, next tree. So we all did that. And every single one of us picked up the same like message or personality from
Oh
the same
wow.
tree. So, and
Oh wow.
yeah, and there was definitely this one tree that was just like, get out of here. I don't want to talk to you guys. Go away. Leave me alone. I don't want to be part of this. And every one of us got that message from that tree.
Wow.
So
Oh,
it's
that's
again,
funny.
it's
That's
sort of
amazing.
like you can't, you have to stop disbelieving. It really
Mhm.
breaks that wall and lets you
Mhm.
go, yeah, this is absolutely true.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, it reminds me of this video I pretty recently saw of this woman who was talking about how she did not grow up in like a magical lifestyle. Her parents were very like um logic and logical and she didn't believe in any of this quote unquote woo woo stuff, and she now is a channeler of trees
mm,
and she was talking about, she's like, so many people have said like, how did you just turn that on, and like, how did you, were you born like this? And she was like, no, I just had to suddenly be like, I can talk to trees now.
mm-hmm.
And it was just this like decision, this just like embodiment of like, this is happening and I'm gonna just choose that this is my reality. And then
Yeah.
all of nature just started communicating with her. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it's similar, like people might have a little more direct experience with their own intuition, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you really trust your intuition and you start to see, oh, wow, I know something. I don't know how I knew it, but I knew it. It's that
Mm-hmm.
same thing, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm just going to decide to trust the trees or trust my intuition or trust the river that I can
Mm-hmm.
communicate. Yeah, it is sort of
Yeah.
that, just making the decision.
Yeah.
Uh huh.
Yeah, I'm just gonna believe this now.
Mm-hmm.
That yeah.
And then it starts to prove itself to you over
Uh-huh.
time.
Then it gets easier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you were describing the circle, it reminds me of I host women's circles and we host story medicine circles too.
Mm-hmm.
And I have like things that I say before the circle, which is like, when we speak in circle, we're we're deeply listening and not just listening to come up with a response, because we're not responding and giving each other advice. We're just putting our story into the circle. But before we do the circle, I like to invite people to go out into wherever we are, because we're usually in nature, and find a plant that is wanting to be in relationship with them, like something that they connect to, and then bring that back and we create like a mandala together.
Mm-hmm.
But I ask that people not talk to each other, that they just, so I love your idea of, or not, I guess not your idea, but the of being invisible to each other.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. And I'm definitely going to invite people to do that, because that is
Mm-hmm.
such a, yeah, to just be invisible to each other. And so we're not, because there's just constantly this oh, are they seeing that I'm doing this thing, and are they thinking I'm weird? And
Right.
like,
Right. And it's again that symptom of ranking,
uh-huh.
you know? Yes, so the circle, it's a familiar practice. It's based on council circles. So yes,
Yep.
this is where it comes from. But in this practice, it's kind of like a light touch council circle. But it's that
Mm-hmm.
deep practice that all humans have done forever, gathering in circle and sharing their experience.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I first came to it when I had a really hard postpartum with my first, and I actually went into, it's called Pine Rest, like a hospital here, mental health facility, and the place itself was not at all helpful, and they pushed drugs and this, but the thing that healed me was the group therapy, and just being in that circle of other women, other mothers that were going through this experience and speaking their truth, and me just being like, oh, I'm not a horrible mom, because
Right.
because and just like that experience of like sharing stories with other people in this circle, and then but then taking that and putting it in with nature was just the next huge unlock for me and so many others, to just like, it's not just us humans gathering in circle, it's us in communion with nature around us.
Yeah,
Is, I think, a
exactly.
huge piece.
Yeah. I do a course on the book, and I call it, it's the book study and rerouting practices. And
Oh, cool. I didn't see
yeah,
that.
and then when we create the cohort, we have what I'm calling like your other than human study buddy. So the cohort,
Aww.
yeah, is actually human and other than human. So we're, again, just continuing to break this idea that we have to go out and come back and tell each other or whatever. It's like, no, let's
Yeah.
bring them in. So, some people had brought in their study buddy was a spider, or, my study buddy was water. A
You
lot
can
of,
find a squirrel.
yeah, yeah. And just to have the information from the more than human world in the cohort as we are, because it's a pathway of discovery. Like when people ask, well, what does this future look like? I'm like, I don't know. Like, we have to co-create it. We have to work to dismantle this, listen to the more than human world, and co-create it together. So we're all discovering more and more together, which I think is the most fascinating part of it. Um, yeah, so that's that.
Well, that's beautiful. I talk about how one of my favorite therapists ever was a tree at the last place that I lived. What kind of tree was it? I always
Beach.
forget. It was a beech tree, but I called it the mother tree, because every time, like, my girls and I, we would walk every day on the path out to the woods, and we would visit the mother tree, and we'd all go give her a hug,
Yeah.
and she was a part of our lives, like, in such a deep and profound way. I meditated under her. My oldest daughter, Jenny, when I breastfed her for the last time, I did a little ceremony there, right underneath the tree.
Yeah.
And then a friend of ours that lived there went and meditated under the tree and got this story from the tree about how the tree was so sad because there had been a woman that had lived there who had just had a baby, and they had formed this relationship, and then she left, and she was like, I just need to know if she's okay. That's like what the tree was communicating.
Yeah.
Well, then I ended up meeting this woman when I was pregnant with my second daughter, who was going to be my midwife. And it turned out we had lived very close to each other in Colorado. And she had actually fled Colorado because there was a fire. And she actually moved to the house that I lived in with the mother tree, and she lived there, and I didn't know this when I met her. And it was right after she had had a baby.
Wow.
And then we linked up, and so it turned out like that's like my friends that meditated under the tree did not know that. So it was
Wow.
just this really
Right?
amazing story of like
Right?
that literally happened. And then I gave birth on that land, and connected with that tree in such deep and profound ways. And then unfortunately, when I moved off of the property, the tree fell down
Oh,
and died. And it was like, talk about grief. It was just like
yeah.
this just intense grief, of that. But it was also this like such a deep part of that transition in my life and what I was going through. And now like, one of my best friends made a macrame thing for my altar, and that it's made from one of her branches.
Oh,
and
gosh.
and then another friend has took a mushroom off of her and like carved a mother goddess into it. And so it's just like we can have such like amazing, and like you said, like these stories, like the story of the tree explaining to my friend what happened like secondhand,
Yep.
was just this deep validation of like, oh wow, like this is real, this is really
Yeah.
happening, this is, yeah, there's no way that like that's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
There's no way that's just like coincidence at this
No,
point. Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
again, more and more of these stories as we allow ourselves to say them out loud and not feel embarrassed or ashamed or crazy,
Mm-hmm.
to say them out loud, and then we can remember this is
Yeah.
how we were in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
were, that wasn't crazy, that wasn't magical, that was life. That's,
Everywhere,
yeah,
in every
everywhere,
culture.
in every culture.
Yeah, and that's an amazing thing to think about too, that like all of these humans all over the world that had no way of communicating with each other, they're all saying the same thing. They
Hmm.
all had the same beliefs of just this relationship with Mother Earth.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also just again like the mother tree.
Yes.
I mean, if
Yeah.
you go all the way back into the beginning of the religions, it begins with a mother tree,
Yep.
the symbol of a tree. I mean, this is where I wear the tree.
Mother Gaia. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, Ashera, Nama, all of the first goddesses that create
Mhm.
everything. So the trees, my gosh, we are so connected.
Yeah, and then again, that tree on the placenta, like the
Yeah,
tree of life, the thing that gave us life in the womb, that kept us alive, that gave us our nutrients, that we, like our womb mate, you
yeah,
know, is a tree.
yeah, yeah.
It's beautiful.
So
Yeah.
beautiful. And that again, like going back to the hopefulness of the, like how we are not doomed is like this, like, oh my gosh, how beautiful is this? How magical, awe inspiring, whatever words we want to call it. And it's real. And
Hmm.
to step into that paradigm where this is real, this is really how we can live. Can you imagine the kind of life? Even with all the technology, as you were saying earlier, we're not going backward in time or whatever. We're going to have everything that we have. It's just how we live with it.
Yeah. Yeah, without destroying everything around us.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Well, not us, but the people doing destroying.
right, right. With the reverence and the kinship and the love, we can use all the tools that we've created.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I find it very inspiring and uplifting. And, I mean, every day there's a challenge. We're all three of us living in the United States, which is tough right now, like very tough. So it's not to say that you bypass anything, but
Hmm.
to connect again around reality as we confront the fallout of this insanity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. It's been really beautiful to talk to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you too. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, I had one question. We're in Michigan and you're in California, so anyone here would have a harder time connecting with you but is there a network for ANFT, like a website that you can go to find ANFT certified guides?
Yep. Yes, and it is just that, the Association of Nature and Forest Therapy. I believe it's anft.earth, and they have a network, the directory of certified guides. In terms of me, there are some offerings that are online or hybrid.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
Okay.
so you can always, please, reach out to me, join my community that I'm, wanting to get nice and healthy growth.
And where is your community? Or do you have a website or
Yeah.
somewhere you're primarily at?
Yeah, so Experience Elemental is the best website. And if anyone wants to subscribe to the newsletter is a great way to stay up to date of what's being offered. And that would be experienceelemental.com/welcome. We also have a Substack and will this year be starting a podcast. So
Cool.
if you're interested in that, it's experienceelemental.substack.com.
Okay.
You can always follow me on Instagram, which is my name, Julie Brams, LMFT. So that's another way to stay in touch. And please, just email me, text me, whatever, so that, again, we can build a nice, healthy community. My co-founder of Elemental, Julia DeCaneva, and I also, have in mind that at some point, we'll travel. So if there are things that you like that we're doing and you want us to do it where you are, we'll come.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
yeah, we host Skillshare events here where we bring in we teach workshops, but we also love bringing in people to teach workshops.
Yeah.
So.
So this would be a really good fit here.
Yeah.
If you're ever in the Michigan area,
Yep.
let us know for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Great. Well, thanks so much for talking with us today. And also, by the way, listeners, her book is really good for learning about this method of connecting with nature and also for learning how to be a guide. So it's kind of written for both. It's not just for one of the other. So it's for everybody. And it's an amazing book.
Thanks.
Really good.
Yeah,
and to read it.
Yeah, I do hope that that's something that people, it's an easy access. It's an easy way to get to start to wrap your head around it and then keep going, Or if you want to study with me in the book course, that's another great way to deepen into what does this mean, in an embodied sense. So, yeah. Thank you so much. It was great to talk to you. I love to hear what you're doing. Yes, please, let's stay connected.
Before we close out this episode, we'd like to leave you with a little forest echo. Sometimes it's a song, sometimes a poem, and sometimes a passage that feels like it carries the spirit of the conversation forward. Today's echo comes from our guest, Julie Brams, from her book, The Nature Embedded Mind. Allie is going to read a short excerpt for us.
It's not unusual for people to judge themselves. In my therapy practice, I work with people almost every day on letting go of the subtle and not so subtle ways they judge and criticize themselves. I believe that humans are the only beings on this planet stuck with a mind that turns on itself. Unfortunately, this self-attack mechanism can also be used by others to shape our beliefs and our perceptual cage, by judging and shaming each other. Because of that fear of others' ridicule, the resistance to changing beliefs about nature and our place in it may ultimately stem from a resistance to feeling shamed or outcast. Shaming someone for their differences is how the group can control homeostasis. In other words, shaming leads to taming. I'm using the word taming to mean conforming to culturally approved beliefs. As this relates to the human-nature relationship, our current taming would have us believe we are separate from and superior to the rest of nature. This precept has led to our human compliance with behaviors that have gotten us to the point we find ourselves in now, facing a climate crisis and the threat to our own survival as a species, not to mention the threat to other species of all kinds as well. The good news is we're able to observe our own thoughts, to perceive our perceptions, and to change them. We can let go of this kind of judging, critical, shaming inner self-talk, especially if, upon reflection, we see it isn't serving us personally or societally. We can change what we think, even if it goes against the group. As more people step courageously and unashamedly into connection with nature, it paves the way for all of us to remember and enjoy our natural way of being in the world. We can give each other permission and encouragement to rewild ourselves. That said, when people are given a forest therapy invitation that is outside the normal construct and designed to allow them to connect with nature in a new way, it's appropriate that it might be accompanied by negative thoughts like, "I feel crazy, silly, stupid, weird," or other inhibiting thoughts. You may find you have them too. It's totally normal. It's totally okay. This is your first glimpse at where you are in your relationship with the rest of nature. For example, one of the standard invitations is meet a tree, in which you're invited to wander out and find a tree that you want to meet. The instructions include approaching this tree like you would approach a friendly stranger, to introduce yourself and see what arises as you spend 20 minutes together. On my first walk, when given this invitation, I could feel the level of self-consciousness in me. I wondered, what am I doing? What's supposed to happen? Am I pretending? Why are there so many ants? I don't want them crawling on me. Am I still talking to the tree? When will this be over? Clearly, I don't know how to do this right. I felt awkward, and although I felt a lot of kinship with nature, the other beings were clearly strange to me. Objects. I didn't know how to relate to them yet. Like talking to a spoon. Why would you do that? That's crazy. But over time, and allowing my inner critic to quiet down, I began to notice what it felt like to be with the trees. Although I haven't been one who hears them say anything, though some people do, I feel a sense of relationship now. I feel the tree invite me to lean against it, or take my shoes off and feel its bark with my feet, or stroke its leaves and tell it how beautiful it is. To offer love. And the ants, by the way, don't seem to be so irritating anymore either. Thanks for joining us in the forest. If you felt a spark, share this episode and leave a review. It helps grow the mycelial network.
Follow our journey on Facebook and TikTok at Soulfire Forest. And until next time, stay rooted and radiant.